Rooted in resilience, inspired by nature, powered by movement. The podcasts where healing meets empowerment. Let's rise and thrive together. And now, here are your hosts, Scott and Melissa.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Thrive, a podcast by Vital Edge Wellness Coaching. We were caught by surprise by the camera this time.
Well,
Snuck
yes.
up on us.
Well, you push start.
Let's begin with Melissa sipping her tea,
Yes.
prepared to guide us through our opening mindful meditation. And then we're going to talk about me.
A little ego involved there? I don't know.
You know, what we realized is we've never gone deep on this podcast about either of us. So the next couple of episodes are going to be about me and my journey, and then Melissa and her journey.
Well, and this was inspired actually from one of our retreat attendees.
Who shall remain nameless.
We love you. That shared, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Because we don't really like to often talk about ourselves.
No, we're terrible self-promoters.
So she was like, what would be really cool on the retreat? And I thought, oh, that would be good to have in the room when people come, is just a little bio of each of us, and including Maddie, my daughter, comes to the retreat. So we're all three of us. So they know us a little bit.
Who are you?
Who are you? Because we know each of the retreat. We knew most of our retreat goers. So we just kind of even forgot to
Well, actually, we didn't know.
We
so for
didn't.
those who don't, or what we need to be thinking.
Right. So this has been a request to be like,
Take us into meditation.
so, oops, you lost your bookmark. Wherever you are, here, there, everywhere, I'm going to ask you, if at all possible, to sit back, stand, pause, close your eyes if possible, please. And one nice, deep, maybe the deepest breath you've taken yet today. And notice when that breath came out, probably still a little residual feeling of it. There was a dropping in, a little bit of softening of the busyness, and even that hardness of your body, your physical layer. So as you let the very next breath bring you a little bit further into that inside space, let's just be with that little pause in that space. You might even catch a glimpse at the base of your exhale, this perfect moment of just stillness before you take the next breath. And invite yourself just to be here right now. There's nothing to do, be, or solve. Just a few more moments, feeling that sensation, your inhale and exhale into the pause. And then let another one of those deep, beautiful sighs move through, in through the nose. Nice exhale to clear that space even a little bit more. And then you can re-engage when you are ready.
I am ready
Right.
to re-engage.
To re-engage.
Now that I've disengaged.
Disengage. I went away for a while. No, it's a good place.
That's right.
I like that place a lot. All right. So I'm just going to ask a question and let him talk.
Because she wants to drink her tea.
I do.
Ask me a question.
It says, if your compassion does not include yourself, it is not complete.
That's her mug, for those of you who are listening.
I was reading my mug. So my question to you, I've often said to Scott, he's had multiple lives. Like, I feel like he's lived a lot of life and had various chunks of life experiences and careers and hats and all those things. And at the same time, as he would say, there's a thread of continuity, of connection that has brought him here. So my curiosity is from a little boy out in the fields to the kitchen, to the cleaning, to the boardroom, to the what brought you and what you're doing now to evolve. So take it from there.
Well, it's interesting. I don't think of myself as having so many lives. And you brought this up to me before. Other people have mentioned it too. And, I think from a wellness perspective, I feel like I'm in the present moment for most of my life. And so wherever I am, I'm really there. And then something changes and I move on to the next there. And only when I reflect back do I realize, oh, yeah, I've done a lot of things in a fairly short life.
Yeah.
Life feels short.
Well, I'd be always in awe sitting here like you said. I said, you did that? When did you do that? And then you talk about just like living here and doing this. And I was like, it's a whole different like environment and life and person that would be in that kind of mix. And then you have another. It was like, it's just fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. The 80s were interesting. I'll just leave that right there.
No comment, because I have no
talk about a whole other life.
I have no reflection about it.
Yeah, those are the restaurant days. Those were the party days. Those are good days, but those are not the days I want to be in.
Well, no, because
today.
you sent me some of the videos of how the kitchen runs. I'm like, that's
crazy,
stressed
isn't it?
me out.
Yeah, yeah. I still have a real soft spot for hospitality, and the pressure. And we're going to talk about pressure and how to do better under pressure. But I think that I've always done really well under pressure, and the restaurant business, as some of the videos I sent you show, I ran an 18 burner sauté station at Salty's restaurant in Seattle, Salty's on Alki. We'd do 500 covers a night on a Friday, Saturday night. Those covers are individual diners, and we had an exhibition kitchen, and so people were walking by watching
you the whole time.
Yeah, you keep a clean chef's coat if you can, and I couldn't do that work today, but I was really good at my job. I loved the pressure of it. I loved the food coming out perfectly, and I loved the communication and the camaraderie. And I think that's what I carried forward into every iteration of my professional life, and also into my adventuresome side. I love adrenaline. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. Like, I'm not pushing the envelope like some, but I do love the feeling of accomplishment through
climbing mountains.
Yeah, climbing a mountain and motorcycle riding and, whitewater rafting and all the stuff. I really like to try new things. And I think that bleeds into my professional life as well.
Well, that's what's been neat to see is stepping back and learning about this, about you, and seeing how then it all ties together to where you are today and what you're teaching and what you're supporting people with. It's like you were learning all along the way, and you didn't even realize you were in school. I mean, you were like literally just gathering experience and applying, and now with the ability to reflect and steep in it, you're able to pull it together and show up as someone that helps people in various life experiences and events.
Yeah, I think even my love of nature, which I know I've mentioned on the show before, started in Almsville, Oregon, living next to cornfields on acreage and having free reign between two creeks and a gravel pit and a railroad trellis and all the animals and all the fun and getting dirty and growing vegetable gardens, and led to my love of what's out there.
I was going to say food.
And food. And
First
food,
thing that came
for
to mind,
sure.
because I was like, well, he likes to be in the kitchen.
Yes, I do
food.
love to eat.
Yeah. So when you said garden, I just thought, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually both, right? I love the idea that the earth can create that perfect strawberry. And we still don't know exactly how it works.
Oh, no.
Science doesn't exactly know. There's some mystery there. And so I plant my little garden at home, and I still go through that process. But I think the nature side of it has always intrigued me. And it led me to go even deeper and going to learn at the feet of Tom Brown, who was one of the world's greatest wilderness trackers and Native American survival techniques and Native American spirituality, and blending that with nature was one of the greatest things I've ever done for myself, because it gave me the confidence of what I already knew. It gave me some skills to back it. I'm still a little bit shy in sharing those skills with people. I kind of dabble in it in some wilderness coaching that I've done over the years, and people have gotten amazing results. I could think of 3 people whose lives were changed from that experience in profound ways. Like, I'm done with this career, like I'm done with this relationship, like what I've been waiting for. But it wasn't me, it was nature. I was just there as their guide. And I think that's why I'm very intrigued by the nature of people.
Well, it's just bring me I'm having a little epiphany moment. So it isn't that you just went to school for all these things, right? And you're not doing it from just book knowledge of like, okay, now I have this skill. Not putting that down.
Lived experience.
Yeah, not putting that down whatsoever. But what I'm seeing is that for some reason you decided to pause there a moment and talk about a nature component. And I'm thinking this is what we've been sharing in our podcast about, like connecting to get out of your head, come into your heart, and feel the connection we are to the earth. And so my epiphany thought here is the connection of like you being able to connect with that nature, all of these different lives that you've experienced, which would on the surface, an entrepreneur, this or that, you then were able to go into the wisdom from those pieces to extract what needs to come through you in your purpose on this planet as not just those outside things.
Not those labels.
Right. And so you've been able to, through the guidance of your practices, and that is to come to fruition, that insight, that intuition, that inner knowing, that wisdom that's coming out to then guide people in all these different areas that often have nothing to do with those surface things, right? It gets to the root of a lot. No pun intended with nature.
Yeah.
To get to the root. But I think about you talk about the Native American, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So that helped you when you were like referring to the 80s and the scatteredness and different avenues you could have went down.
Yeah.
Right. But something drew you to go deeper.
Yeah. No, it's really a good observation. And I feel like only in hindsight can I have this knowledge. But when I went to tracker school and I decided I wanted to go deeper into the Native American philosophy and survival. Survival isn't, I meant actually living, not survival, right? It's actually living. So you're not like guarding against things, you're actually living with things. That's how the natives see it. And I didn't know that it would transfer to other things.
Yeah.
I didn't know that failing to reach a summit on a mountaintop would transfer to how to manage an issue in a boardroom. I didn't know that the pressure of a cooking line would lead to resiliency that so many people will never have in their lifetime because they've never had the opportunity at a young age to understand resiliency. I wouldn't have guessed that I'd be doing wellness coaching with you on a retreat with people, helping them understand how to go deeper. You just don't know until you all of a sudden reach what I'm calling my wisdom years. And my mantra now, at 60 years old, is to actually utilize the wisdom I've acquired over the years. Not that I'm not still acquiring wisdom, that'll be a lifelong journey, but that is not, the purpose isn't to gather wisdom. Now's the purpose is to use the wisdom I have to enrich my life and others.
Or continue to extract it from your journey because it keeps showing up.
Well, that's the thing. It's in there. I just need to extract it and share it and continue to use it for my own journey. I do feel like it's important to say, though, that we're talking about, oh, that's great. You did this, you learned from it. But really, the learning comes from a lot of the negative, quote unquote, things that occur in your life. Relationships ending, deaths in families, illness, witnessing others suffering, betrayal was my recent most big lesson that I took so much away from. we can't embrace just the good in life. We've got to embrace it all. And we have to be able to step back and go through, not around those processes. And I have just got this kind of bulldog mentality that I'm going to go through it. I'm an emotional person. I feel all the feels, but I also know that I got to feel all the feels to get through it. I can't just shut it off and avoid it because I know that will come back. And so I just lean into those moments. And that's why I think I'm a good coach. And that's why I went into coaching. That's why I went into helping other people, individuals, teams, organizations that really want to embrace that part of our humanity, because there is plenty of room in corporate America and in business to have a strategic mindset and a human mindset. And I have both of those things. And I understand those struggles. And I have educated myself and gotten plenty of certifications to back it up to be able to show up professionally to help people on a human level.
When did that turn on to you toward the coaching? Like, how did you get exposed to that? Because it's become more and more aware of it now, right? In the last handful of years, but you've been doing it for a long time. So how
I
did
think
you
I
kinda
was
get
always
exposed?
coaching. It just was never called
Right. We
coaching.
didn't call it that.
I can look back now in the restaurant days. I ran my first kitchen at 19 years old. I mean, I was leading people who were in their 30s, had been divorced twice, kicked drug addictions, were alcoholics, tough people in the restaurant business who want to know what this 19-year-old kid brought to the table. But I did it through coaching conversations. I didn't know what they were then.
Yeah. It was like intuitive, like you were already
Yeah, it
born
was a
with it.
human connection, right? But it was also accountability. We got things to do. And I'm pretty black and white about those things. When we have things to do, we're going to do it. We're going to get it done. We're going to do it right. Or you're going to go somewhere else and I'll find someone else to do it. But as I grew and I started my first business, I realized in my clean sweep cleaning days that I didn't really like the admin side of the business. I didn't enjoy it. It had to be done and I did it, but I enjoyed the interaction with my customers, my vendors, my employees. And so when that company sold, I wasn't planning to sell that company, but someone came and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And when I sold it after 16 years, when I asked what I wanted to do next, I realized whatever it was, I was going to focus on people. And that's when I started exploring consulting and coaching. And that was in 2004, January 2004. And so I did. I went full-time into coaching, and that's my sweet spot. I dabbled in corporate for a while as a chief people officer, loved the role, loved the organization, loved the things I was doing. It was difficult to be a coach and an executive, and I quickly found those were sometimes diametrically opposed. And so coaching is for me, and helping people in those positions is my sweet spot. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, that brings us to your development that's over there underneath you, book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been working on this for a while. It kind of came on.
Well, I love how you described it with the call you had with that gentleman.
No, yeah, with Joe.
With Joe, which he got invited to be on the podcast. So I love that because so many of us have that experience where we've started stuff, we've written stuff, we've got a piece here, this here, that there. And I think, whatever words you want to put in how I'm saying this, but when it's time, the universe, I think, drops it in and says, excuse me, this needs to get done. And there is an energy that I have one other individual having the same experience that you are with this book. It's just coming in like wildfire. And before, they've been sitting on all these different topics. I don't want to do this. I got a little bit of this. I've read some of this. I've done, some stuff here and there. And then when the channels open up, the portal, and I think that's what happened for you. I was like, holy heck, how quickly that, like, all of a sudden I'm like, it's done.
She says that because I was updating her on my process, and she's like, what? What are you?
Well,
how late were you up?
I moved slowly in my life. So this was like, but I see that for many, now I've experienced, as you included, that when the timing's right, you have like this divine opening that just pours in and through you. And I think it's the accumulation of your life experience right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was describing to my new friend Joe on the phone today. We just met and had an amazing conversation. Joe, if you're listening to this, thanks for the call today. And he asked me, he's also writing a book, and he asked me some insights that I could provide for him. And it made me reflect on my process, which really wasn't a process. It was scattershot over several years of me writing things here in this journal and there on that legal pad, and a couple of sticky notes floating around here and there. And in my morning meditation practice, I've got some paperwork I keep next to me with affirmations, prayers, and pathways, thought processes that I sometimes capture in my meditation things. And I had a book. It was a book on engaging with the millennial workforce. It was just a little guidebook that I used to use as giveaways in my talks all over the country. I went and spoke on millennials in the workforce. It was a great 6-7 year period, but it really wasn't a great book. I mean, it was, a guidebook. I've contributed in several of those contribution author books, and that was okay. It was a good experience. I started writing my own biography, memoir. I hired a ghostwriter. He was so hard on me that I just gave it up. His name was Jim. He was great. He's a great guy, but I couldn't wrap my mind around sitting down and doing the writing in his style. And so I dropped it. I sat in meditation. I thought, you're trying to force this. And it should never be forced. And that was 5 or 6 years ago. But I still have all of that material and all the other materials I mentioned. And then I started this new program with coaching called Elevate Under Pressure. And it's based on this program called the pressure under performance process, right? Performance under pressure. And I was talking to a CEO client, and I was reviewing with him this new process, getting some feedback from him. And he said, well, you ought to write a book. He goes, everything you've designed in this process, that's a chapter. And that was the moment I went,
clicked.
I actually said to myself, holy hell. I was writing about my life and resiliency and performing under pressure, but I hadn't connected my personal life to this new offering that I kept hearing people needs. I wrote this Elevate Under Pressure because I kept hearing needs from clients. But what I didn't realize was I'd already lived that experience in my personal life. I didn't bring that in. And so then, as you know, late last year, I started scrambling on putting these two things together. Yeah. Scrambling meaning it was flow.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't trying to rush. It was just like
it was
I said,
inspired.
A portal opened up.
It was a portal. It was inspired action. I was getting up early. I was staying up late, and I did it. I just did it, and had a couple editors look it over, and then I realized I needed to hire a typesetter. Things you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, and got it typeset, and I've got the paperback, hardback, Audible, and Kindle, all available out there. And it's been met with great reviews so far, even though it's not fully flooded out there. The few people who have seen it and are reviewing it are loving every minute of it. And I'll hold it up for the camera if you're watching. It's Elevate Under Pressure. And it's by me, Scott Sadler, the Pressure Performance System for Leaders Who Refuse to Break. Although I will say that several people who are not in leadership have read it and said, this is a life book for pressure. And the framework is, pressure. When things are going well, everyone can be good, but pressure actually reveals your true identity. The pressure peels back how you're actually going to perform under that pressure. And I would submit to you that most people's true identity is not revealed until that moment.
Yeah.
And so if you can understand who you are under pressure, you can more fully understand yourself at a deeper level, but also you can understand other people and start helping them be who they truly are under pressure. Because it's easy to be who we want to be when there's no pressure.
Right. And just like the gentleman, what's his name again you met with today?
Joe,
thank you. He was just saying how one of his experiences of sharing something vulnerable, right? It's like that human aspect that you mentioned. And on top of that, I think about, sorry, we have a dog bark. The camera's not picking up on it. Dog barking in the background, so it's distracting me a little bit. But I was thinking about what you said is people can actually get a chance to learn about themselves better. And Scott also does the Gallup strength. So the people he's working with are like in awe of like, oh, we've always wanted to do this. You want to find your employees' strengths so you can help support them to grow and flourish and feel seen and heard in that way.
Yes.
So that human aspect, which then turns into a high productive quality work environment and individuals. And so it's interesting to see maybe that gap's getting smaller of us realizing that need for that connection, just as the need for this kind of support is. Once people hear about what you're doing, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think the gap in my view is shrinking. We still don't know how to talk about it though.
Yeah.
We still don't know how to be vulnerable. So as a Gallup certified strengths coach, that's my intake process. When I bring in a new client, that's the first thing I do is ask them to take that because I need to know what their top 10 strengths are out of 34 themes. And so many times people find themselves toiling, miserable because they're focused on strength 19 or 29. And with a little bit of coaching, they can readjust their view to now make it one of their top 10 strengths. Not move that strength, but to focus on their top 10 strengths and be better, more fulfilled in their performance. And then what happens for their employer or their leader is they go, oh my gosh, you're doing so much better. It's a small but simple, not always easy shift. And then I'm also certified in emotional intelligence. And so I have EQI 2.0. So we can talk about how we relate those strengths to each other, how we communicate and show up and feel other people's and how you come across to other people, right? And then I've got my own assessment that I built. It's 15 questions. It's the performance, the pressure performance snapshot that will give you an indicator of how you actually reveal your identity under pressure.
Help you know what, because some of us might not know. We get, sometimes when the pressure hits, right, we go into fight or flight. We go into behaviors and actions that are survival mode that we don't even realize until harm is caused or disruption in the office, corporate. Not even that. It's popping back to think about one of my beings is like, we have the work hat that we wear, right? We have to behave a certain way in work. And then it's like, wait a minute, but we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all trying. And I could see how being able to see these components and support this, how it would just nourish and flourish a work environment to be completely different.
Well, and sometimes you have to remove yourself to find the work environment because sometimes the work environment will not change at the speed that you are looking to change. So I think it's interesting your comment because earlier, what is the most watched type of videos on social media?
Dog and cat videos?
Second to that, let's say. Let's go second to that. They're usually negative.
Okay.
They're usually Karens.
I like all my positives.
I know you do, but I'm talking about the world.
Okay, the world.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to see the fights. They want to see the Karens. They want to see the drinks being thrown in restaurants. And I have a quote in my book that says, pressure doesn't build character in public, it reveals it.
Mm.
So imagine you're on the hot seat in an executive team meeting. Your numbers didn't come in. And one of your colleagues says, your numbers are affecting my numbers and you didn't hit the goal and I'm pissed about it. And then the other guy responds in kind. And pretty soon you have this escalation.
Yeah.
Your identity is being revealed in public. But there's a different way. There's a different way to manage that. And that's what I want to continue to bring to individuals and to teams. And then the wellness of it all is all backing it, right? The regulation. Because you cannot reframe, decide, and execute if you can't regulate. People are out to reframing, deciding, and executing, but they're not regulating. And so they're in this loop. They're just reframing, deciding, and executing the same way over and over in different formats.
Right.
Tie in the mindfulness, tie in the breathing.
Get out of the overriding.
Bring your body into it. How do you feel about this? How can you feel differently?
How can you ground? And,
So I don't go into that as much in the book, but we do talk about regulation a lot because without it, the rest is just...
Well, and when you're going to be working as you are, working with teams and stuff, this is the foundation, and then you expose them to those components, because that's where, to me, quality of life comes in.
Right.
We didn't all grow up to live our work. I mean, granted, we all could, I hope all of us can love what we do to a degree, and like I do and you do. But that's your existence. Your existence is all the time, right? You spend most of your time at work. So it's, how do you want to feel and be and connect? And I think that's what you're bringing to people, is like, you can have a completely different experience. I think about old school of like, the corporate and the business, and it's like people wearing suits and just not humans.
Yeah. Putting on the armor.
Yeah. And so you have to behave a certain way. You have to respond a certain way. You have to make decisions a certain way. But at the end of the day, it's just like one of my clients earlier today said they're reading something such and such, and they're seeing that, like, even some of our government people, like, they're just all humans. We all have our insecurities. We're all either covering it up with ego or getting, some people that are feeling real insecure will get really loud. Others will draw back. And it's, again, when you get into the feels of it, that's where your power lies, to connect with the human.
We all have our triggers, and we just need to do a better job of understanding what those triggers are, and then choose our response. And I will say, as we wrap this up today, that I have put, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about. I have put a lot of effort into my own self-development.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't I'm going to develop myself. It wasn't that. It was just, I'm curious. I'm empathetically curious about myself and people. And I know I've told you the story about my first yoga class I ever went to.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know what I was doing. I set my mat up right against the wall. And somebody says, you might want to move that away from the wall a little bit. And I just was a fish out of water. I had no idea. But there was something, I wanted to try yoga. And I've been doing it now for 25 years plus, every day. Meditation, same thing. My first meditation class, I couldn't sit. I was like frantic panic mode, because I can't sit here for 10 minutes with my eyes closed. But now I meditate every day, twice a day. And I just throw myself at things, right? I've studied parts of the Quran and the Tao and the Bible and Buddhism and, Hinduism. And I love all of that too. And then I throw myself into nature, and I'm very self-aware now. I'm not even close to being where I want to be, right? I'm not.
Well, that's just evolving path.
That is evolving. Right? But I want to make sure everybody knows, I'm not saying I am enlightened.
Arrived.
I have not arrived. I'm far from arriving. But all these years, from a very young age, and now at 60, that has been the biggest influence in my life. That has gotten me through the betrayals, that has gotten me through the disappointments, that has gotten me through the failures, that now I look back and go, oh, those are actually pushing me forward to the wins.
They're actually, yeah.
And so I'm just sharing with everybody that when we talk about the importance of quiet time and box breathing before a meal, or sitting in your car for a few minutes before you go into the office after dropping off the kids, those things compound. That is compounding interest that pay big dividends later that you can't even begin to imagine. And I know, because now I'm reaping those benefits, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the next 20 years by continuing.
Well, it's just like we started with the breath at the beginning. And you've alluded to it as well. It's what's the Viktor Frankl quote is, between stimulus and response, there's that space. And that's the pause that's where our choice is.
And within that space lies our freedom and happiness.
Right.
And one of the greatest quotes of my life.
To me, I look at it, that's between those two spots. I look at, I'm showing some space on the camera here, is where your choice lives. And when you tap in, like you have for that inner work, that inner reflection, that curiosity, you're hanging out long enough to let that inner wisdom grow and show up without force. Without going back up into the intellect of should, have to, got to look a certain way, be a certain way. And that's, to me, I see the accumulation and what you're showing up with today and how you do. And this episode isn't just about what he does for a living for work. This is his calling. So I look at it as, you're showing up with this intuitive access that is showing up through you to come and share that with others to help them connect with their intuitive access.
Yes.
And live from that space.
It's exactly what I do. It's not going to be in my marketing material. You're not going to see me on LinkedIn saying, let me help you connect to your intuition.
Right.
That doesn't resonate.
I say that, but
that does not resonate though. So you lead with, here's a problem I can solve for you. And it leads then to conversations.
Right.
And that's just how the game is played. And I'm not for everybody. I mean, this coaching is not for everybody, and not everyone was my ideal client.
Well, they have to be ready. It's like anything else. Any kind of life change or any kind of self-work or whatever it may be, you have to be ready. It can't be forced. It can't be, you're all doing the coaching program. Well, if some of the people it might resonate with, some it may not land right now, but it's always a seed. I look at it that way.
Yes. And, we didn't even have time to go into the state of the world today.
Well, that's not this episode. It's an episode about you.
Well, my point is the pressure performance system is built to help people who maybe have not yet experienced the pressure of what the world is going through.
Yeah.
And trust me, there's a big awakening happening in the world, corporately and publicly and privately. And there are going to be people who do not know how to manage the pressure that's coming, or maybe they're already feeling it. And that's where I and you can support people. And that's what our calling is. So, I'm just in gratitude. I'm just really grateful to be doing the quote unquote work that I'm doing in the world, and to be able to use some of my own experiences to offer up to others who are going through their own experiences. And I'm looking forward to keeping it going. You can go to my website to learn more. We're going to end the podcast today because I'm tired of talking about myself, but you can go to elevateunderpressure.com. Also ScottSadlerCoaching.com. You can order my book on Amazon or anywhere on Apple Books or anywhere you like to find your books. And I appreciate you taking an interest in listening to my journey today. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go.
All right. Until next time.
See you next time on Rise and Thrive. And, keep focused on that space between stimulus and response, and
hang out there for a while.
Find your joy and happiness. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Rise and Thrive, a podcast by Vital Edge Wellness Coaching. If you found this episode meaningful, please rate, review, and share it with someone who might need it. For upcoming retreats and to join the Vital Edge Wellness community, head to vitaledgewellnesscoaching.com. Let's rise and thrive together.